Hi, everybody. Great to have you here. Welcome to the Connected Retail Experiences virtual conference during the Start Me Up Hong Kong Festival. Gives me great pleasure to be sitting here with a good friend of mine and a leading entrepreneur, Diego from On the List. Diego, good morning. How are you?
Hi, Jensen. All good, thanks. And
Good. Now, I know about On the List, but I would imagine a lot of those viewers and those virtual delegates, they're probably scratching their head, wondering what is On the List. Can you share with us just very quickly about On the List?
Of course. So the concept of On the List is to help brands with all the products they didn't sell in the stores, so to get a new opportunity to sell them. So we have a specific database. That's why we call On the List. People have to become members, and then they get invited to those events where usually there's big discounts.
Right. So I basically can download the app on my phone, become a member, and then I can visit you physically, because I think you have the physical flagship store,
Correct.
but I can also visit you online,
Yeah.
right?
Online, offline. So it's flash sales. Hong Kong, Singapore, Shanghai, Taipei, soon Australia, Japan, Malaysia.
Wow. World domination.
Asia.
Asia domination. But can you perhaps share with all of us what are you seeing? What are some of the new online trends? Digital e-commerce. There's a lot of these buzzwords right now. But what are you seeing on the list?
That people like to buy online because there's a kind of a myth that people in Hong Kong don't necessarily shop online. And in fact, we see that if you get them a good offer, they will be super excited. And it's not because Hong Kong is small that they used to buy more offline. So there's definitely an appetite for e-commerce.
So there is that appetite for e-commerce, and I think you've got a loyal following. I think there's quite a lot of people that are members. Can you share a little bit? I mean, how many members do you have these days?
Now in Hong Kong, more than 300,000 members.
Wow, that's a significant number. And
There's
that,
still
I mean,
millions.
of course, you want millions, but but I think you do have a loyal following. So what's unique about your business? What are the USPs about On the List?
But first, as you mentioned, the database, because we know a lot about our members as they have to show the invitation at the entrance and the cashier. So we collect all this information to serve them better, to understand really the needs, what they like. And for the brands, it's also to make sure that we protect the image. We can segment who we invite. So it's really about understanding the customer and serving the brands in the best way.
Okay, so obviously you're here. Hong Kong is the center for On the List. Is it going to remain the main center for On the List?
For us, yes, we live here, and definitely it's going to be our home. Then in terms of business opportunities, it's hard to say because it's true that Hong Kong has been really badly impacted in terms of retail from the protests and now from the COVID. It has been now more than 1 year. So brands are closing stores. All the brands we're meeting, they really see this impact, and they don't necessarily have a super bright future in terms of retail just in Hong Kong.
Sure, but obviously, isn't that where On the List can potentially benefit?
Yes and no, because if there is less stores, there's going to be less stock at the end.
Okay.
Because it's just a percentage. The maths are pretty easy to understand. If you have 5 stores, it's going to be, of course, less stock at the end of the season than if you have 10 stores. And really the brands are considering to lower the presence in Hong Kong. So that's why since the protest, we thought, okay, let's try to open new markets, because Hong Kong on the long run, there will be less potential.
Sure. So actually, I was going to ask you, what are the challenges for you and for you here in Hong Kong? And I kind of think you've answered that in terms of we've had to deal with the social unrest. We've now had to deal with COVID-19. Any other challenges here in Hong Kong?
It's part of the business model is more because we do more and more online sales. The logistic aspect is pretty strange because it's a small city, in fact, where you feel like you can deliver super easily to On the List members. but we have a good partner. We are really happy with CRE, but ironically, it's faster to deliver in China, in Shanghai, than deliver in Hong Kong, while the city is much bigger there. So there is some challenges in terms of operations, also in terms of payments.
Yeah.
It's much more expensive, the credit card fees in Hong Kong than what we can use in other markets. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities to make those challenges more efficient, and we're working with our partners to make that more and more easier and efficient
Sure.
for both parties.
So that's interesting. So that logistics challenge, the last mile delivery, and as you said, the costs are also quite significant. So
and in terms of cost, sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
the rents are killing all the retailers.
Okay.
I think that's going to be something shared during the conference all day.
I have a feeling
landlords, they have to do something. It's really, really amazing that there's nothing happening. Now they're taking profit of the subsidies to stop the help that we received at the beginning of the COVID. And honestly, we have been lucky to have also a partner with a landlord that has been listening to a request, but now there's nothing happening, and that's gonna kill the retail scene as it used to be.
Okay, well, that's a note of caution. I think for all of us, that is something that we have to be thinking about. But equally, I think this is also perhaps a wake-up call for all of us, because we're now starting to see those changing consumer behaviors.
Yeah.
I think people now are embracing digital and online and e-commerce. So perhaps for all of us, we've also got to be more flexible.
Sure.
And we've got to be more agile. And I think on the list, I think you and your team have done a great job to be flexible, right? Because you've got the flagship store, but you're really driving those online sales as well. So are you kind of optimistic, looking at 2020, the end of 2020, 2021? Are you still optimistic?
There's challenges, but there's always opportunities. When you look at the team that we have, we are super lucky to have really a strong people in the team. And so, yeah, we're optimistic. There's also new markets that we are developing. Singapore is now booming, even though it's under complete lockdown for the last month. Online has been picking up a lot. So yeah, we are definitely optimistic on the overall picture. It's true that Hong Kong is challenging and will remain challenging for a couple of time.
But I think the interesting thing, Diego, is that Hong Kong still geographically we're right there, aren't we? We're between North Asia and we're sitting between Southeast Asia. So I also think about ASEAN, and we hear a lot about those Chinese consumers, and they are, as we know, a significant group. But I'm also relatively excited about those ASEAN consumers as well. So we're going to see what happens over the next couple of years. Now, I know you're a very busy man, so just before you go, what's your buzzword? I love to challenge all of the panels. So what's your buzzword? What's the one thing that everybody listening to this, what should they be thinking about?
I think what's really particularly true with what's happening in the last months is sustainability. Not only on the green side, the planet side of the world, but really about the business side, on how to have a business that is long-term sustainable in terms of people, in terms of finance, and that's what everyone should be looking at it, what you give back to the planet, to the people, because it's true that Hong Kong, and we're talking about the rents, there's structurally something that is not possible in the long run, and that has to change.
And I think that's a very good point for everybody. Yes, sustainability is an incredibly hot topic, but as you said, in the business context, we've got to ensure that we survive and that we sustain our businesses for the future, because right now it is a challenging time. and we do need to be more flexible and agile, and we've got to make sure that we follow our consumers, and they are nowadays far more digitally minded and tech savvy than ever before. So, you know, we have I think, some valuable lessons to learn. Diego, it's been great to have you join me in this conversation. Last but not least, I want to congratulate, well, selfie, of course, but I want to congratulate you and your lovely wife, Delphine, on the birth of your new baby. I think about a month ago. I noticed you're looking a bit tired there, Diego. But thanks very much, Diego. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll hopefully see you virtually at the Connected Retail Experiences virtual conference on July the 7th. So please be there. Okay, thanks very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. I just received a question from Vince about pop-ups. Will flash sales affect brand marketing? It really depends on the brand positioning. Of course, brands. Can you hear me? Well, I'm trying to answer. I'm pretty new with being a panelist on Zoom. I used a lot Zoom the last month. So I was trying to answer the question from Vince about pop-ups and the impact on flash sales regarding brand marketing. So from my understanding, marketing costs and budgets have been completely reduced to almost nothing worldwide, because they are all trying to really make sure that the expenses are at the lowest level. So pop-up is a solution on the mid-long term to engage the customer on an offline strategy. And the second question from this is, can it replace, pop-ups can replace the stores on a long-term contract? I guess it's more also on the landlord side, as they have more and more vacancies. And we see that in Hong Kong now, that, yeah, they are much more keen to offer pop-up and so short-term rents. Can be a couple of months, but also really on a daily basis, because for them it's a way to first get a revenue than having a store close, and also to have more traffic thanks to this pop-up, because usually pop-ups means there is communication around it, and so of course landlords are really happy to be able to attract different crowds inside the shopping malls. I hope I've answered both questions. Don't hesitate if you have other questions. So far, there's no other questions. A new question is, can flash sales be a long-term strategy to boost up revenue? Definitely, because it's a way to really get a pretty significant amount of cash flow for the brands. To compare with the figures that we understand from brands, is that in 1 week, even usually sometimes 3 or 4 days, we can achieve the same turnover as what they should achieve in a outlet store. So for example, in Citygate or Florença Village or Horizon Plaza, in almost 1 year. So of course, we don't recommend brands to do too often flash sales. Maximum is twice a year because of the seasonality of the products, the collection. It makes no really sense to do too often flash sales. And also for on the list members, we don't want to propose the same brands too regularly, So that's why even if we do 2 events a year, then there is different markets. So it can be a pretty significant amount of revenue for the brands. There's another question about, do you think brands will come together and host joint pop-ups experience to re-engage customers? Yes, we at Untitled, we offer sometimes the opportunity to brands to be mixed. Why we decide to do that is first, when the stock level are not that high, so it means that the offer will be a little bit more limited. Then also, if a brand has a completely specific target audience, and another brand can have another one that can be crossover. For example, mixing cosmetic brand with ready to wear or fashion brand can make completely sense. And it's a win-win at the end of the day, because a customer coming, if they really like this cosmetic brand, they might end up buying the fashion brand. And you see all the collaborations lately, when you see Supreme or Nike collaborating with luxury brands, and then offering those products on pop-ups or really on flash sales, even though it's not discounted. So it's a strategy that to look at new audiences, new customers, makes completely sense for the brands to capitalize on the other brand's audience. New question from Laura about what make pop-up successful. There is, of course, different explanations. So the objective of a pop-up, it's first visibility, brand awareness. So of course the buzz around it in terms of media exposure, and then about traffic will be the KPIs, I guess, the brands will look at first. And then if it's a pop-up more related to selling specific products, of course the turnover will be the most important KPI for the brand. Regarding flash sales, of course we look at traffic and turnover, but one of the most important KPIs for us, it's going to be the conversion rate, because we want to make sure that the customer, when they come to a flash sale, they find something that they like. And if the conversion rate is low, it means that either the products that we offer were not what they were looking at, or the prices, the price strategy, the discounts were not as attractive as they thought, or maybe the organization was a little bit too crowded, or we didn't welcome them as they wanted. So that's why for us the conversion rate is something that we always look on priority, and and that's why regarding the pricing and the stock that we work and offer to on the list members, it's something that we discuss way in advance with the brands, so that we make sure that we can have a successful conversion rate. So yeah, that's different KPIs that you can look at to make sure that the pop-up is successful. So of course, flash sale is a little bit specific because our objective is to sell as much as possible of the goods that we receive. So then at the end of the day, the sell-through, so the total sales out of the total goods received, it's what makes a flash sale successful. Thank you for the congratulations on the baby. So the question now is about, do you think the brands can make better use of the data collected even in the pop-up space to help the business for future planning? So all data is crucial, particularly nowadays, where customers can buy online, can buy offline, can buy on platforms. And so more you understand the journey of your customer, better you can serve them, because it's all about really making sure the customer experience is the best as possible. And pop-ups, as the formats of the events, it's much more easily share your information. For example, the Nike and Dior collaboration lately, where you have millions of people sharing all the personal data. It's going to be super valuable for Dior, because at the end it's Dior collecting this information, because it's people that are keen to spend a pretty big amount of money for a pair of sneakers, and so for Dior this information is super valuable. And as mentioned, usually the customer are much more eager to share his personal information when it's this kind of more experience pop-ups, while if you buy something in the store and you have, you know, the sales assistant asking at the end if you are keen to give your contact information, usually you don't necessarily care unless it's a really high technical product where you have warranty. But otherwise, if you buy fashion, usually you never give your data unless you know there's going to be exclusive events, or they will invite you to more discounted promotions related campaigns. But otherwise, it's hard for brands to collect information from their customers. And to answer differently the question, because about future planning, for example, when we do flash sales, we share a lot of information to the brands about what sold well in terms of categories, but also then to cross-link with the customer demographic to understand if the younger ones were looking at different categories, and definitely this kind of information can be valuable for the brands, because if they see that there's a really younger crowd coming to flash sales, meaning that they might not have the spending power now to buy full price, but they are really loving the brand, so ready to come to those flash sales events, it means that those brands, they should be pretty optimistic about the future, because once those younger customers have more revenue, then they will definitely be certainly eager to go and buy full price in the stores. So there's a new questions about which consumer goods or target audiences categories are best suited to pop-ups. Again, is about the attractivity, the desirability of the brand that will make people come, and particularly for pop-up where you need to go somewhere, it's like more a destination, while a classic store where it's always in the same place, you see it around for a couple of times, so you know it's going to be there, while a pop-up, it's limited in terms of time, so you have to plan it and fix a moment to in your agenda to make sure you don't miss the opportunity to visit that pop-up. So the best categories is when it's exclusive, limited items, or when there's a specific promotion. So for example, for the list, it's when the discounts are really interesting. So that's why when we accept to work with a brand, we need to make sure that the commitment from these members about offering really strong discounts, and we compare with outlets, we compare with end of season sales, are really, really interesting. And the question about multi-brands pop-ups, because landlords are not interested. The challenge is first to regroup those brands, because it's not necessarily easy to coordinate and to make sure that the brands are keen to be associated together. And then regarding the landlords, it's really again about how much traffic you can bring to them, and if the brands make sense, if for example it's really niche brands that are not necessarily already in the market, landlords should be interested to explore. But as shared during the discussion with Anson, it's true that landlords are not necessarily the most open-minded in terms of business persons, because they are used to make a easy business collecting the rents, and so they are now exploring new ideas, but it takes time to convince them to explore and to move forward. And new question about pop-up can last several months. Are they still pop-ups? Contractually, pop-up doesn't mean anything. It's then usually there's much more flexibility in terms of deposit, in terms of payment conditions. So yes, and now we hear more and more brands having pop-ups for 1 year, 2 years, while the classic lease format for Hong Kong is 3 years. But again, it's true that it doesn't necessarily mean it's a real pop-up. For my own definition of a pop-up, it's something that you are really excited to come for, and that you should be really penciling it in your calendar and make sure you are available and you commit to go there. So of course, if it lasts several months, then you don't have this urgency to go. So I pretty agree with you that it doesn't necessarily be a good definition of a pop-up when it lasts for several months. My dream pop-up, as on the list, is here to help brands to really get a solution for all the previous past season goods stocks that they have at the warehouse. We want to be able to offer to all the brands like really a solution to this problem. So our dream is to be able to work with all the brands, whatever the positioning they have, so that they don't dispose all the garments, all the items that are not anymore in the stores. So my dream pop-up is maybe a full range of brands where we can talk not necessarily at the same time, but in terms of offer from the list, where we can gather products that could be attractive for all the population of the city. So from kids to business people to more mature needs and all categories of product. So that's kind of my dream. And the next question is about best in class. I was mentioning all the pop-ups that Supreme did. They are really strong in communicating in advance when they organize this kind of cross-link activities with another brand, and they always attract a lot of people. So it's definitely someone Supreme that we look at, because they are really good in making short events really strong in terms of buzz and then in terms of traffic. And any behavior from the public that has surprised us. In fact, every time we work with a brand, there is, like, for example, from staff, sometimes they're running, they can queue from 4 a.m. to be the first one coming to the flash sale, friends and family sales. So it's always surprising. And then sometimes there's no really rational customer behavior inside the showroom when people might be fighting for bag. So because of the format of the event, is short time, and because of the discounts offered that are really attractive, it's true that people can be really excited, and so it's nice also to offer this kind of experience and show to the brands that the brand is really popular. So that's kind of the behavior that we see. And also what's interesting is to analyze the data and to see that a lot of customers are really buying a lot of different categories. It's not because someone is buying more lifestyle brands that they're not also customers for super high-end watch or jewelry brands or other fashion brands. So to look at the figures and really sit down with the CRM team to understand what are like the customer behavior in terms of purchasing power. It's always interesting and can bring to some surprises. The new question about, will people pay for a pop-up experience? Yes, but for example, at On the List, we have a premium membership where it's a paid membership, so that you, as a premium member of On the List, you receive the exclusive pass to come before everyone else. So that means you come first and you can select and see the products before everyone else. And also as a premium member, you have more loyalty advantages, so more points and access to exclusive events. So yeah, we see it with On the List that people are ready to pay a membership for a pop-up experience. Then on other categories, so it's not pop-up, but if you look at jewelry brands offering classes about understanding more really the value and the craftsmanship behind the products, they pay for those classes to get to know more about the brand and about this category of product. So yeah, it seems that people are keen to pay if they really get an advantage or they get a special experience out of it. So I think there's not much lot of time, so if you have questions, please don't hesitate. I think we have only 2 minutes left. now the last one was about, is it difficult to export yourself in Asia? I don't know if you asked this question about the accent. So yeah, there's always challenges and opportunities, as shared with Anson. The difficult part of being in Asia to understand, because the markets are so different. Working in Hong Kong, in Singapore, Shanghai, Taipei, now also in starting in Australia, in Japan, and Malaysia. We have to understand, operationally speaking, the difference in terms of markets, also in terms of customer behavior. And so yeah, it's about analyzing before entering those markets, making sure that what we do already can correspond there, and if not, how to adapt. So yes, it's the same for people going to Europe. The markets there can be really different. If you look at department stores, comparing Selfridges Harrods in the UK with Brand Thomas in Ireland, or Printemps Galeries Lafayette in France, or Corte Inglés, or the German department stores, KaDeWe, they are all so different. So yeah, it's important to have some knowledge about the market, to really get to understand more what has to be adapted to every single market you enter, so that then you can really make sure you offer what the customers are expecting from you. One example can be on the online flash sales about the deliveries. Legally speaking, the markets can be really different. For example, Hong Kong and Singapore, there's no obligation to accept returns and exchange. Of course, we offer that when there is any defective, but in Shanghai or in Taipei, it's something compulsory. So it's really about understanding the customer and the market admin part to make sure that you follow all the regulations accordingly. Thank you, everyone. I think we are almost done with the timing. So thank you for listening, and I hope I answered some questions and it was interesting for you.